All right. Looks like we might be live. Not sure about the signal strength. I will double check on the old feedback loop here. Make sure we're doing good. Get the earphones ready. Welcome back, Wayfarer. Wherever you are, whoever you are, and whenever you may be receiving this transmission. I hope you are doing well, Wayfarer. Let's see here. Is the music feedback loop working? Let me double check. Background music. Yeah, I think I can hear it. Good magic. Appreciate y'all stopping by for another entry on the 100-day challenge. It's day 3 for me. Why is it my eyelids always get itchy whenever I go live? That's kind of weird, huh? It's weird. Don't hear anything. Testing. Testing. Okay, there it is. Looking good. All right, excelente. I hope you're doing well this evening. I'm your Grand Wizard of the Esoteric Order of Dagon, Frank Monday, coming at you once again like Finnegan. Got something smoldering over here in the ashtray. Make sure I get that extinguished correctly. 100-day challenge, Sorcery of the Ancients. I'm on day 3. Let's do the first shifting. So we're shifting out of an ordinary, mundane experience and shifting into a non-ordinary state of mind. So basically breaking trance, right? We're going to inhale 6 times and exhale, right? In through the nose, out through the mouth. 3, 2, 1, in and out. In and out. In, out. Four. Five, in through the nose, out through the mouth. And 6. Once you've done all 6 breaths, you're just going to hold your hands in front of you at approximately just below eye level and at arm's length approximately. We're going to go for 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Just natural rhythmic breathing. There it is. That didn't take long, right? That was 2 minutes. So when doing this practice, just keep the fingers separate, independently strong, and you can kind of go in and out a little bit, right? Everything rounded, like you're holding a ball. So just rounded. And then 3 cleansing breaths to finish. In. Shake out the hands. Rub out the face a little, the hair, whatever you like. Stroke the trapezius 3 times. Oh, good magic. So that's it, man. That's the first practice, the first shifting. And the goal of this one is very easy. Just do the practice, all right? You're breaking through ordinary, mundane trance states, the daily torture of the commonplace. I think I got a little bit of a pimple right there. It's kind of a fun thing, huh? A little spring pimpole. Lovely. Yeah, just breaking through those ordinary trance states and then getting into a non-ordinary state of mind. Ben Thorpe, really? I don't know if I believe that or not. If that's genuinely the infamous Benjamin Thorpe, you're more than welcome to join me here for some basic magical practices. This is the 100-day challenge sorcery of the ancients, Ben. So we're studying some Carlos Castaneda. Not sure if you're familiar with him or not. It's the teachings of Don Juan Mantis. And yeah, he was just a Yaqui Mexican shaman that supposedly taught Carlos Castaneda sorcery. And here it doesn't really mean sorcery. It's like, as I've delineated it, it's a disciplined experiential path whose aim is a radical shift in perception and personal power. So that's kind of the name of the game. That's the thing. And yeah, I dropped the link if you wanted to get into it a little bit. I do think I have to roll back that. And that music seems all right, I guess. I like to have a little background music because we can't be monologuing 24/7, right? All the time, every time. I would like to open with a prayer. Holy art thou, Lord of the universe, the vast and the mighty one, creator of heaven and earth, maker of all things visible and invisible, master of both the light and the darkness, he who was, is, and always shall be. We adore thee and we invoke thee. Send us one of your divine spiritual agents, our holy guardian angel, to protect and guide us through the innumerable snares of the earthly sphere, and a cleansing wind to disperse all negativity and endless human opinion. Teach us those secret things which we must know for the completion of the great work and the glory of thine ineffable name, Adonai. So it is commanded and confirmed, so mote it be. Amen. Yeah, good magic. Remember, O neophyte, goodness alone is power, silence is strength, will regaineth omnipotence, and love lieth at the foundation, for love is the law, love under will, and do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Ato makut vegubra vegudla leolam. Amen. Hail unto thee who art raw in thy rising, even unto thee who art raw in thy strength, who travellest over the heavens at the uprising of the sun. Tahuti, god of magic, standeth in his splendor at the prow, and Rahor abideth at the helm. Hail unto thee from the abodes of twilight. For love is the law, love under will, and do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Yeah, so to delineate a little bit for you guys, Carlos Castaneda and the teachings of Don Juan Matus, the Yaqui teacher, distinguishes sorcery from ordinary life by stressing awareness, intent, and a willingness to break culturally conditioned assumptions. So the shifting of the attention point in the energy egg, right, is to move away from the ordinary, mundane, day-to-day and create a receptive state of non-ordinary awareness. One might even describe it as being more perceptible to high strangeness. So an attempt to wake up those super sensual perceptions, right? Sorcery in this account is not trickery or superstition, but a systematic practice of altering one's frame of reference, as it were. And yeah, it's the man himself. Unfucking believable. We have a guest here, a kind of a big deal in the panel verse here on the YouTubes. He makes quite a name for himself in these spaces. So with no further ado, I am honored to welcome to the stage one Benjamin Thorpe.
Wow.
Hello, sir. How are you?
What an intro. What an MC. Nice to be here.
Yeah, blessings, beloved. How are you?
Good. Do you know? I am interested in what you're talking about with the magic, but you are somewhat familiar with Jack, right? Like I think we met on Jack Talcott's.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Chats with Jack. That's one of my favorite YouTube shows.
Oh yeah. Have you been watching recently?
I have. I keep up pretty much daily. Okay,
so actually, literally tomorrow, it's likely he's going to be heading out to CPAC. And I
heard about that. Yeah,
we've got Lalo, who's he's on in our sphere is like our most frequent collaborator, and he has connections, legitimate connections, way up into. Say hi, Grace.
Hi, Grace.
In the Republican Party. So, and that's all a networking thing. So, anyways, it'd be exciting to see. I'm curious. Because, the whole thing is like, if you have a dream, especially if you're a YouTuber, the criticism is, sure, easy to talk, but, will you walk the walk?
Fair enough.
What do you think?
Well, from what I've seen of you and your daughter, I'd say that you guys have a dynamite, like kind of spark of energy going that, you're kind of flaming around the panel verse and connecting a lot of the dots and bringing forward some heavy hitters like Lalo, really fucking super handsome individual.
He is, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a firecracker of a young man. And
no, but I mean in terms of these guys getting together and actually making it happen. Because what we're looking for, I don't think Jack's going to get 30 minutes alone with Donald Trump in any world. But a handshake with Donald Trump or someone adjacent to him, I think would be like a huge win for Jack, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure what the question is. I mean, yeah, pursuing your dreams, absolutely. Anything can happen.
What's your? I'm curious because I was asking Grace, will Jack get on the plane? Will Lalo get on the plane? I think yes, because he's going to go anyways. Will Jack get on the plane? It's like a I think it's like a cheap ride, $16 or so. Will he get on the plane? What do you think? I think he will.
I don't know, let's see what the tarot has to say about it.
All right, interesting.
Jack's a motivated individual. I think that he's got the balls pretty much to go just about anywhere. I've invited him to come stay with me here in China, maybe sometime in the future, and then just hang out and get to see the city and so on and so forth.
He's had collabers that he's like, a lot of people will say, like, I'll collab with you. They never collab. They'll always have an excuse. He's done it several times. He's gotten out in DC. I've never seen him take a fairly big trip, but go ahead.
So I just drew the Three of Pentacles, which is the epitome of the card of cooperation, and so it shows exactly that, like a master mason, a priest, and an artist working together, like on, of course, architecture. So yeah, this is the card of collaboration. Under these auspices, it's a go. Expressions, groups, growth in all directions. So it's definitely a beneficial thing. Does that answer whether or not he will do it? In a yes/no reading, this card is easily a yes.
Can I ask you, is that what's called a tarot card?
Yeah, that's a tarot deck.
So that's not Chinese, right? That's European?
No, that's Western. Yeah.
It's Western? Okay. And like, I have a curious, because I'm Catholic, right? And I've encountered a fair number of people who are using like things like, say, astrology.
Sure.
And I find a lot of them to be like very spiritually, like, I don't know, positive people. I think they're totally, but like, I have a kind of hesitation about it.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean? Just like there is this kind of, I think there is a kind of dark side to some of that stuff.
Yeah, typically tarot in the tradition that I follow, which is like the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. I'm not sure if you're at all familiar with it.
I have no idea. I've seen tarot cards used in movies, and I think that's totally fine. And you know what I mean? It's like a plot thing, you know what I mean? So you're not actually, I don't know what, communicating with the dead, but the cards are beautiful. It like makes really great filmmaking to go, okay, you got this. Horror movies often will have that. You know, the card of death is like, oh, you know what I mean? And that's perfectly fine. I'm not sure where it gets into something that would be, but I have that hesitation. I do believe there are dark spiritual forces. I think you probably would agree, right?
Yeah. The tarot can be used for a number of different things. In the Hermetic tradition, it's basically used as like a memory book. So it's called the Book of Thoth. It's like considered to be the original emerald tablets, so to speak, at least as brought forward by like Aleister Crowley and others in that tradition. The deck that everyone is super familiar with is actually made by a Freemason, a Rosicrucian, and he's one of the founders of the Golden Dawn. And
do you know that Aleister Crowley's castle at one point he had a place in Rhode Island that's now owned by the Catholic Church, which is interesting. And before I got married, they were like, okay, you got to do a weekend. It was this bullshit prep thing. Okay. And we were staying at Aleister Crowley's former, place. So.
Yeah, what's up, honey? 不要，我吃完了。So, 谢谢啊。It's my daughter. Yeah, so like it's basically like for memory, like there's lots of different elements, and it's for encoding like different esoteric symbology into the cards. This one, number 1, is the Magician. It represents the second letter of the Hebrew alphabet. You can see like the infinity symbol above his head. You have your basic axiom, as above, so below, one hand pointing up, one hand pointing down.
Yeah.
At his waist is the Ouroboros, or the snake biting its own tail. On the table are the 4 Kabbalistic elements of water, earth, air, and fire. And so, so the whole thing is about encoding things in memory and like doing internal path working. It's not usually used for divination, though in its more prosaic
divination meaning predicting the future or something like that, or
right? Like fortune telling. Yeah, that's one of its. That's a lesser attribute, and like so, I've been studying the tarot since I was a teen. Hey, welcome, Grace. Good to see you. Yeah, we're just talking tarot.
Frank is showing us those tarot cards, and I'm saying like I'm a novice.
Hell no.
But a lot of people, well, I mean, Grace, like if you have a magic 8-ball, someone could say that's like consulting the demons.
Yeah,
that's ridiculous. True. That's just, it's not like that's ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
Well, the idea from the Chinese perspective is that random chance has just as good an opportunity to direct you towards like some useful information. And the books are just filled with ancient wisdom. So it doesn't matter what you get, really. You're going to get some piece of advice. You've seen like those little answer books. You just open it to a random page and it gives you like an answer with like with an axiom or proverb or something.
Like a fortune cookie. Sometimes it makes you think about something that you wouldn't have otherwise thought about. It doesn't mean you have to say like, God sent an angel to put this in. You know what I mean? You don't. It could just be like kind of like in a movie. I was telling Grace, like tarot cards in horror movies are very cool because the writer is using that to foreshadow or whatever, right?
Yeah,
they're clearly not like randomly doing it because it wouldn't make sense. You need a script, so like that's fine. And we know this guy Dashton. He calls him Dashton.
Dashton the psychic vampire slayer.
The psychic vampire slayer. He's really into astrology, but he's obviously a super. I think he's genuinely like holy guy, like a real, a guy who just understands things mystically.
Yeah,
deeply religious, no problem.
Yeah,
but then there are some people I wonder what they're up to.
Sure.
Especially women who seem like they're, they tell stories about like this man that got killed that I was married to, and they've got some of that witchy stuff, and I'm like, I don't know. Jack was talking about that one like that.
There's definitely a difference between like witchcraft, sorcery, and what I do is called ceremonial magic, and I do it in the tradition of King Solomon. So it's based on the Hebrew interpretation of like the Sword of Moses. It's a book of magic, and there's many grimoires and manuscripts of Greek Christian magic. So there was like magic was a big deal up until like until a certain point, and it's always been at least it's been a part of the tradition. So I mean, to give you an example, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying like the way I think of it, like the Greco-Roman mythology. The mythological stories, all Zeus and all that stuff. For a while, I think Christians were told to like stay away from that stuff because the idea was like it's competing. But then at a certain point, when Christianity just became so dominant, and those stories were actually told in school because they actually contain a lot of wisdom. They're like the story of Narcissus, for example, right? Narcissus, he's there's a way in which like that's a good story about like don't stare at yourself too much, don't be so self-consumed. Like there's no problem with that.
Yeah.
Vis-a-vis Christianity. Do you know what I mean? As long like you're and no one's really going to be like, okay, I'm going to worship the god Narcissus. So it becomes like it can become and they would teach that in the classic curriculum. They would teach Greco-Roman mythology because it was part of the cultural heritage of the Roman Empire. So there are still things the church is like about, but like if you steal the Holy Eucharist from a church and you're going to do a black mass, like I think most people would say like you're up to something funny there. But things like tarot card, I think
Yeah, and a lot of these guys that got a bad name for like doing magic and being a part of the order, Crowley, for example, or Anton LaVey, they were doing it as a kind of sleight of hand directly against the church to kind of break off. And like, for example, Anton LaVey, the guy who wrote the Satanic Bible, you probably know he was an atheist, he was promoting
my
hedonism.
Parents.
I told them about the Crowley thing.
Did you? Speaking of the legal side of their marriage, I was wondering, just for fun, do you do readings?
Yeah, I can and I do. But
he
said the cards say that Jack is going to show up or whatever. We just it's in
great.
cooperation, so Jack's going to show up.
Good.
I agree.
Good. What about my dad's court date tomorrow?
Yeah, I don't know. There's good energy right now. Did you see Afroman's court date?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know what was that about? Well, I have no idea. Literally, I've only heard the name.
Some cops broke into his home and took like $5,000 in cash out of one of his pockets and some weed or something. And then he was like, Yeah, he had like home door cams or whatever, and he had it all on film, and so he made a video. This is like a 3-year-old case, but it was finally only brought. Yeah, it was just brought to trial yesterday or the day before, or
But
something.
it's a civil case, right? For money, not for crime, right?
Oh, they were trying to get him for like a violation of a gag order or something because he made videos out of it and he published it and put it on YouTube.
Oh,
and he's
First Amendment.
Yeah, but yeah, he was defended by the jury. They said acquitted on all charges.
Is he
he was being prosecuted. I thought he was doing a civil case and he won money, but no.
No, he was the defendant. But yeah, no, there's lots of legal things that he was involved in. But the I think the big one that everyone's been talking about is that he was acquitted of any kind of. The sheriff's department tried to sue him or something.
I have like 7 gag orders on me right now through family court, all of which I've protested, but all of which I've like, I don't think they would hold up to appeal, but hopefully tomorrow all of them will be vacated.
I don't know much about legal lawful, but yeah, it seems like it's kind of a violation of our First Amendment.
So like family court feels like it can do anything it wants, like because it's like for the kids or something like that. They'll take away all of your rights for the kids, and it's like, where's the law about that? But they're like, well, it's for the kids,
Yeah. Richie Dubs.
Yep.
Don't listen to Ben. The Bible plainly forbids divination, enchanting, and witchcraft. Tarot is divination.
No, I think it's funny because we go on Protestant channels a lot, and they'll say that prayer to the saints is
necromancy.
Necromancy. I'm like, what are you talking about? Well, you're communicating with the dead. I'm like, well, that's not what.
What were Jesus's commandments? Raise the dead, cast out demons, and so he was a magician, in my opinion, and in the minds of most Rosicrucians, Freemasons, and Hermeticists, we firmly believe that he was practicing in the tradition of Moses, David, Solomon, and the other magicians, Enoch and Ezekiel and stuff.
Well, the root of magician is magi, right? And so
right,
isn't it an implicit endorsement of whatever they were doing, that they figured out the star when no one else did? So
more astrology, right? I mean
they use some kind of star. It's not like they were Hebrews, right? They're from Iran, I think.
Frank, what is the idea of doing magic? Yeah, magi. Yeah. What is the idea? Are you communicating with the universe? What's the theory behind it? So you say something, and
it has to do with memory. The way he does it.
Memory.
Yeah, it's mostly to deal. Well, in modern terms, you would want to look to Israel Regardie, Francis Israel Regardie. He was a hypnotherapist and psychotherapist that was actually Aleister Crowley's secretary for a number of years, and so he's the one that brought all of the inside documentation to the public eye. Before that, it was all, sworn to secrecy, this kind of thing.
Yeah.
But he takes it mostly into the psychological realm. And so he deals with demons as an aspect, like daemons, right? As an aspect of one's mind. And then magic.
Carl Jung type stuff. Carl Jung, that archetype
absolutely.
Stuff.
Yeah. Carl
So would
Rogers.
the idea be that it's kind of like an extrapolation of what you already have in your mind?
You're familiar with the RAS, or the reticular activating system?
No.
Okay, so in the mind, basically, whatever you can see to perceive as true is true, at least for you, and that will be within the realm of your perception. So, take for example, we have a certain light spectrum that we can see, whereas cats can see more ultraviolet radiation, and dogs can see. They have an expanded range.
Yeah.
So we just take for faith that there's things outside our realm of perception. Those are the supersensual perception. And so you have to get into non-ordinary states in order to be able to perceive those and work with those types of energies. The Chinese idea of qi or qigong would be an example of that. Oregon in the Western tradition, these types of energies.
I've heard people say human beings only experience less than 1% of the universe in terms of whatever, the entire electromagnetic spectrum or whatever, that kind of thing. So Is that what
so
you're kind of? You're saying you want to experience more of what's already there.
Yeah, you're expanding your awareness through various means like twirling or dancing or singing or anything that will get you into an altered state. For ceremonial magicians, we use the invocation of God's name in many different Hebrew forms, right? Like you can see we do the cross. So Ata Malkut Vegubra Vegudla Leolam Amen. This is the Catholic Kabbalistic cross. You know, it is it's the end of the Lord's Prayer.
I rebuke
thine art.
I rebuke here's in the name of
here's what I'm saying, right? For thine art the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever and ever. Amen. Right. So that's how we start.
There.
Yeah, that's how we start ceremonial magic. And then you'll have an altar where like I showed you a moment ago with the card of the magician, and you oscillate to the east and you invoke the name of Jehovah. Yod He Vav He in Hebrew, and then you form a star, right, a pentagram, and then you imagine the archangel Raphael protecting you in the quadrant. Like, you know, there's things you say, right? So before me, Raphael, archangel and guardian of the east, lead me forward. You know, usher in the spring and this kind of thing, and then you go to each of the 4 quadrants and you form the stars around you. Then you go back to the center, then you do your working, you know, and all of my workings begin with like a prayer from the Arbitel of magic, you know, and I say it every day on my show. It's, you know, hail unto thee, God Almighty, this kind of thing, you know.
There's an interesting way in which that stuff has sometimes blends, like just from an outside perspective, you're like, you know, there can be a way in which you're like, yikes, I've seen The Conjuring, right? You know what I mean? Like but yeah, like I know at the Cathedral of Chartres in France, there's a big labyrinth. And I remember I once did this workshop. It was kind of like a hippie Catholic workshop where they made a labyrinth. And it's fully like compatible with Christianity. It's like a spiritual practice. You walk the labyrinth. But a lot of people would be freaked out by it and go, "Oh, see, there's where, you know, that's like a cult." And just because something is a cult doesn't mean it's garbage or Satan.
Well, yeah, and I mean, when you take words back to their basic meaning, occulted just means hidden from the ordinary view of the public. Everything the priest class does pretty much is occulted and esoteric.
Yeah, right. And the aside, like I would say, even the idea of intuition, that there are things you could pick up on with intuition, is similar to what you're saying about like having a different state, not being hyper rational about everything.
Right. Yeah, and for me, you know, it's just getting in greater touch with God. Like Crowley defined magic as utilizing your will to create change in conjunction with you know, certain, like I said, certain practices that would make you heightened to supersensual perception. And Eliphas Levi, one of the greatest magicians who ever lived, that wrote the Doctrine and the Morals and Dogma. Sorry, Morals and Dogma is Albert Pike. Eliphas Levi wrote Ceremonial Magic. Anyway, he wrote a book that's seminal. But he defines the great work. You're familiar with the great work, what the Freemasons talk about? That it's perfection of man by himself by getting in communication with God, and it's full control of his faculties and his future, and the complete emancipation of your will. So we say things like, love is the law, love under will, do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law.
Yeah. So that's also a quote from St. Augustine. Love and do as thou wilt.
Right. And people mistranslate that. They think do whatever you want is what they're saying, but that's not what it means. It means you get into communication with your holy guardian angel and figure out what God wants you to do. And then you do that thing. Right. So we're actually looking for, when I say we, I guess I just mean me, because I'm a solo practitioner, a solitary practitioner, but I've joined some orders. So, yeah.
Have you ever seen the casting spells on African uncles pranks?
I haven't been in for like the last 30 years living in China and researching basically like Taoism and systems of Kung Fu. I haven't had much contact with the Western world. Emerging into YouTube is like when
it's very funny.
Go ahead.
It's very funny. These
something?
people, Yeah, they pretend to be magicians, but they're just pretending. If you share my
Say
screen.
safe for YouTube, right?
You know, it's on YouTube.
Yeah, it's just annoying.
So
It's nothing.
they'll find like an African guy, because Africans believe, I think, still in like magic and curses,
Before
even if
presenting
they're
the screen,
Christian.
remove other media from streams. Okay, hold on. I got something. I had something queued up that I was going to talk about. Yeah, my bad.
Oh, okay.
All right, it should come up now. Go ahead. What have we got here?
What's your name? What is your name, Uncle? Yes, yes, it's working, it's working. Yes, yes, it's working. Yes, yes.
I respect that. We had some African people working with us. Some of them were more educated, and some of them were more, I guess we'd say, primitive. And I respect like the primitive stuff, because I think they're aware of some forces, but you know what I mean. Like it can become superstitious.
Yeah, but they do get scared. Like if somebody's doing, like some of them will just be like,
yeah, I had a dishwasher.
Oh,
we had this like plastic cross that he thought was cursed, and he was like, I'm dying in the middle of the dining room, sweating profusely. He's like, I'm dying. The demons have gotten me. And I was like, let's get you to the hospital and out of the dining room.
The real African experience.
Yeah. Who knows if it's real? I don't know.
Yeah, well, there's something to it. I'll tell you guys, just as a baseline. Like I grew up in a Lutheran church. We went to private schools, like all the way up until high school almost. And then I went to a military school for high school. But so I was raised pretty religious, but I got into ceremonial magic when I was really young, because I was kind of disillusioned with the church. Like they talked about all these great things that Jesus did. And I'm like, well, where's the methodology in that? You know, how did he do these things? And so I started looking into it for myself. And I thought, if magic is real, and I believe it is real, then I think it can be done. And so I made some early breakthroughs with magic, like summoning things and apportations and like encounters of high strangeness. And so I guess that kind of what's the word, like maybe it biased me towards a belief in it. And since then I've had a wonderful life with magic, and I've never felt that there was anything wrong with it. You know, I've learned different I don't take to prohibitions very well. Like, of course there's the 10 commandments, obviously, and everyone should obey those. But I don't think in the 10 commandments it says anything about practicing ceremonial magic in the tradition of Solomon. So Solomon fucked up in the end. Obviously, we know that, right? But he repented ultimately and came back to God. So I mean, live a rich life and do your thing. You know, don't worry so goddamn much.
Yeah, in some sense, I believe the alchemical thing is very similar to like what we call now science. It was a lot of experimentation, and like, you know, the Vatican backs doing science and research. It's not like the other pursuits were seen as demonic. They were just sometimes seen as fruitless, I think. And they may have more psychological benefit than, like, you know, you're not going to solve pollution by tarot cards. Like,
I have heard you speak to it in the past, Ben, and Grace as well. This question for you: would you say that do you consider yourself to be a practicing Catholic?
Yeah.
Okay. What about you, Grace?
Yeah.
That takes some work, right? Like you can't just become Catholic. There's like things you have to study and
as a convert, right? Yes, Grace had to take classes, but it's like, you know, like unfortunately, the church's educational process is so, it's like lazy, you know what I mean? So
okay.
It's made for like just like everyone to get pushed through, because they have to do it on top of school. So like they're like, school sucks. So like we'll just make it easy. We'll do like, you know, have candy and popcorn. But like technically there is a process of becoming initiated.
Yeah.
Okay.
Would you?
Yeah,
Sorry,
my older brother married a Mexican gal, and he wanted to convert to the Catholic Church, but he said it was extremely difficult. Like they had a lot of stuff he had to study and take tests and so on.
Really?
And like prohibitions and stuff. Maybe with the Mexican church that she was affiliated with, maybe they were trying to make it a little hard on him. I don't know.
Yeah, it all depends on the individual bishop. Some bishops are trying to get back to the old school, because the problem is if you become a Catholic but you don't actually know what it's about, you're going to be kind of a scandal. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
like the quintessential example is people getting married because they want to be in a Catholic church so they can quote convert. Then they get divorced a year later, which is a scandal. You know, like you should understand it's like a real commitment, but it depends. It's bishop by bishop and different popes will be more lax or more strict, you know, because if it's super easy for everyone, then it's not even a thing. But if it's too strict, then it becomes like an elite thing, which it's not supposed to be. So,
sure,
you know,
that makes sense. Then maybe they were dealt with him in a certain way because of his situation. They wanted to make sure that he was being sincere and intent on doing it.
Yeah, when I became Catholic, everyone who was in the class with me was just doing it to get married. Like they had no interest in the religion that I could tell, but they weren't against it either. But it was just pro forma. Like, let's get this over with, punch the ticket so I can go. And which I don't have a problem with that. You know, it's not like they were secretly saying like, I hate the Catholic Church. It's just, they just didn't see it as, you know, and they're getting married or whatever. So it's like, you know, they got a lot on their minds so they can maybe grow in the faith, but there was no tests. But you did have to show up to the classes. You couldn't just blow the classes off.
Is that you, Grace? Is there something we should be paying attention to in chat? Because I'm kind of ignoring it.
No, I was just...
Sponge is one of our chatters.
Sponge said, is Frank Tuesday's stream tomorrow? Oh, ho, ho.
Yeah, Aluma Tommy calls me Bobby Tuesday. Bobby Tuesday. So yeah.
No, I was wondering if you could do a reading for I'm having an issue with my landlord right now as to how that will turn out.
Yeah, a reading's a thing, right? Like I take it serious. I don't usually use tarot cards for fortune telling, but
no, don't do fortune telling. Just do what you did with me with Jack. Like I think that's more recreation.
I don't know how it works. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah. No, try to articulate your question again. Tell me what your question is.
What's the vibe? Am I going to be victorious?
Okay, yeah, something like that. So typically if I do like an officiated reading, I'll do a little prayer first, like heaven and earth, divine spirits and ancient masters, your daughter has a question. Please respond to us through the system of the tarot. We will accept this response, whether it shows us good fortune or misfortune. Propensity of Grace to be victorious in her interaction tomorrow. And I'll cut and draw. Oh, so I got the 6 of Swords, which is a moving away from hardship. So it shows good magic. In the foreground, it shows rough waters and you're being ferried away from those. Yeah. So it shows that someone will be taking you into smoother waters. So this is a card of success.
Yes.
That's good.
That's what we
good.
want.
Yes, rough waters. Rough waters. Thank you, Frank.
We've been in some rough waters.
Yeah.
Yeah, and 6s represent harmony, cooperation, and healing. So I do see resolution and good magic. Nice. Like the Chatter King says here.
It sounds good. Now, what would it be like? I don't know what the church is teaching about this stuff is like. Where you I know that if you do a seance and you're speaking with the dead, that can be there are would you recognize there are dangers because there are dark spiritual forces?
Or absolutely. No, I absolutely think it's true. And I as a long-term practitioner, like a guy who's been doing magic since his mid-teens, and initiated into various temples and traditions, I would say that for the average, ordinary, everyday individual, you shouldn't fuck around with anything. You shouldn't play with Ouija boards. You shouldn't do tarot cards. But that's gatekeeping too, to some extent. So I would encourage anyone who's interested in the path of magic to study. But I would say that there's always, in Chinese, we say, gui shang shen. There's always an opportunity that you'll get demon possessed, or that a ghost will latch itself onto your body like a leech and cause you a lot of hardship and misfortune. Yeah, so it's definitely.
I believe that. I believe that's something.
Yeah.
The idea is make sure you do it with someone who's studied and you're careful. I remember Thomas Merton's a famous Catholic monk, and he was around in the 60s, and everyone was telling him do LSD, because this is like unbelievable. And I think he did take something at one point and he was like, yeah, like that's sort of it, but you should not, we go way beyond that, but you shouldn't do that for recreation because you might not be able to handle it. You know what I mean? But he was saying, yes, it does open certain things up, but you should do that like through the practices of meditation, not like as a recreational thing, because you may not be able to handle it. You know what I mean? So he wasn't really saying like drugs are terrible. He's just saying like there's a better way to do this. And it's not a matter of like having fun, especially if you're like psychologically unbalanced. It can be dangerous, which I think is true. Probably true of everything.
And as a primer, if Grace, you're at all interested in like developing your powers, your greater powers of manifestation, I would highly recommend a very short, simple book by, I believe it's RHJ, or it might be RJH. I think it's RHJ. And it's simply called It Works. And it's very short, and it's done in the vein of Christianity and spirituality. This stuff was huge at the turn of like the 19th and 19th, like 1890s into the early 1920s. So the end of the beginning of the 19th, beginning of the 20th, end of the 19th century.
Yeah.
Being here in Rhode Island, that was a time when Rhode Island was a much more like central place. We had H.P. Lovecraft here. We had Aleister Crowley was here.
Yeah.
There was a lot of money involved with it. There was a lot of interest. And I do think it's more in a Catholic milieu, not seen as like we have to run these people off. Manifestation, isn't that what they say?
Manifest.
Yeah, and it's
manifest.
It's funny too. Manifest. Like almost everything in the common like mainstream narrative these days, when it's dealing with sci-fi and horror and all of that, is really heavily reliant upon Lovecraft. And obviously, because his works and many other like in his vein are in the public domain now, so they can just basically borrow and copy and cut and paste. But yeah, if you're a student of Lovecraft, which I am deeply, you just see so much of it in mainstream media these days. Like the entire narrative playing out, they would, people would talk about Albert Pike and so on and so forth. But no, it's all Lovecraftian. It's like they're really trying to roll it out like a playbook. It's kind of funny.
Well, it seems your reading of Talcott may have been.
Oh, he's bailing.
I just got a text from him, the group chat. He said, I finally got signed back into my Frontier account last night and couldn't see any of the Go Wild options for today or tomorrow. I have been investigating flights and looking at my logistics, and it seems that this might not work out for me after all.
You got to show that meme that you have. It's funny. You'll think this is funny. It's not a diss on tarot card reading, but it's.
Oh, let me see. I'll bring it up. Discord.
Yeah, there's always a number of options. Like I said, the card that I drew was just in the spirit of the vibe of the thing, like Ben said a moment ago.
Yeah.
And it just meant that the energies were propitious for it. Like it was an auspicious time for him to do this. And so, I think he's really missing out on a golden opportunity if he doesn't seize the day, as it were,
Yeah.
He's saying like, I can't.
Maybe he'll be inspired by the card to go like, I should do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe that would be cool.
I have my meme backstage, but I mean, yeah.
Bitch, you better reshuffle. Yeah, I like that a lot. That's really good.
A lot of your problems are your own fault.
I like how that tarot reader too, that looked like a man in a dress.
No, but it's fine. He's a grown man. He can do whatever he wants, but it doesn't really make sense because the whole idea of the Frontier thing is that there's a certain pass you can have where you get like $17 flights on Frontier. So I did find a flight for him because I have the same path from his airport to Dallas at where CPAC is for $17. But even if he doesn't have the pass, whatever, he forgot, it expired, whatever, it's like $170 to go from Baltimore to Dallas Fort Worth. And he can use that money on his show. So I still don't really see, you know what I mean? Like I know he doesn't have a job.
Yeah,
And he
I was watching
housing
you
with
guys this
Landry in
morning.
Texas. Yeah.
I was watching you guys line up his wardrobe and get him ready and
Yeah.
try to kind of gas him up. And
Yeah. And that guy
it,
Landry offered him like a free place to stay for a
Yeah.
couple days.
right,
Like so
right.
no hotel problems.
So like
And
that card
Landry,
made sense, right? Yeah, like so
Landry said he would drive him
it
to and
was
from
feeling
there
like
too,
all
so
the stars are aligning, right? Like to use another
I just
Yeah,
think that's
and
kind of
metaphor.
like it just sounds like a cope. Like I don't see what the logistics could possibly be that would stop. Like
Well,
you've
it'll
been
be
in
interesting. It'll be
2
interesting on his
years.
show today because people might press him on this, and they might use the clip of Frank saying, "Like, come on," you know what I mean? And that may change him. Because see, I think these cards, like, I don't really know what's being like. I don't think you're saying it's a religion, but like, I clearly like so. But I think it is helpful to like kind of make you reflect, maybe, especially when it's encouraging. You know what I mean? And you're not overriding reason and doing like whatever this card seems to be saying. I'm not going to make decisions, or I'm going to do something crazy because the card says death. So okay,
No,
now I can murder someone, right? Like it's not
imagine,
that. That's not the intention.
Imagine it like this: like what is one of the books in the Bible the most filled with wisdom? Maybe the Psalms, or yeah. So it would be like taking the book of Psalms and then asking God a question and then randomly opening to a page.
Yeah, yeah. And I remember Protestants saying like, "Oh, you shouldn't do that." I think that's totally fine to do, as long as you're not saying like, "I'm abandoning my reason and I'm now just going to live my life based on random passages, and like not even take into consideration like the obvious good and evil." Yeah.
No, yeah, I wouldn't recommend that at all. My grandmother used to do this, and maybe it's because I come from a tradition of somewhat witchy women. But she would pray to the, she would pray to the. She was Appalachian Irish, and she would pray to the angels for various things. Like one of the things when she bought her piece of land, she was in Tennessee, and she bought her own little piece of land, like 10 acres, and she didn't have a water source, and she prayed, and within like 3 years time of praying, she had a freshwater spring literally spring up out of the earth.
Wow.
And she directly attributed this to God's grace to bestow it upon her. Another thing she really, really wanted was dogwood trees, and there weren't any within like, I don't know, like 50 miles or something of where she lived. And she prayed every spring for God to grant her dogwood trees. And maybe some people would say this is wrong to do this, but it took her about 10 years. But finally, God gave her dogwood trees.
What would be wrong about that? That's totally fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
You could also go get a dogwood tree and plant it. But like, you can do it that way.
Yeah, according to her own testimony. Another one was a lot of the dogs in like her little neighborhood or whatever, her county, had come down with mange. And she prayed and meditated for like day and night. And she said that in a dream, an angel came to her and put an aura around a certain bush and taught her how to prepare it. And she cut down a bunch of this bush and took it in and boiled and reduced it and made a tincture and then treated the local animals with this and cured their mange.
Really?
So there's like, yeah, there's like, she had an entire history of this type of thing she'd tell me about when I was a kid, when I would go visit her.
I think Catholics are more like comfortable with that type of stuff. I remember Grace, when we had that place that was kind of in the hood on Wendell Street.
Yeah.
There was a French Canadian lady 2 doors down. She had been there since the 60s. And she said there used to be prostitutes coming up and down the street. And so I sprinkled holy water on the sidewalk and they stopped coming down. And like, that's totally fine. Like as a Catholic, it's totally fine. Maybe in some ways, you know,
I believe in
things that are associated with, you know, the things of God, like evildoers, just stay away from them. It's like a repellent, right?
Yeah, I don't doubt it at all. I mean,
literally work spiritually. The fact that the prostitutes know holy water was sprinkled on those sidewalks might make them think twice just about just coming down. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Maybe she told them also, like, don't come down here. It's holy water.
And that plays into like the entire model of, I'm not sure if you're all familiar with Robert Anton Wilson and his seminal book, Prometheus Rising. But basically, he takes a very scientific approach and he says, do note taking, use the scientific method, never falsely attribute it to anything. But one of the things that I thought was really, really useful in his book is that he teaches a multi-model approach. He's like, don't look at it like this, that, or the other thing. Try to come up with a number of possible causations that brought it about. And the thing with magic is that it just works. It doesn't matter how it works. Like I don't need to know how the electricity works in order to flip the light switch.
Right.
You know,
right.
I don't need a degree in electronic engineering for that. And the same is true with ceremonial magic. It seems to have a better than average, again, propensity to work.
What is I'm curious when people say like, be careful, don't just dabble in this stuff. Isn't it? It's not so much what you're doing, but you're like, if you're trying to like hurt others, like, and to take out like vengeance on someone else, isn't that how the devil will or like the darker forces will like pull you in and then destroy you?
Yeah, I would imagine. I wouldn't personally speak to it too much because I have been known to do some dark magic and people have maybe suffered from that. I would be careful of it. There are parameters in place, and the blowback is supposedly threefold. So if you do something, you may in fact pay something. I'm not necessarily big into karma, though. I think that karma is a Hindu illusion. I think that there is cause and effect, and I think that the universe does have a tendency to echo things back at you. And I mean, I would defer unto God in what I think, say, and do first and foremost. And I think if you're in that mindset, you're pretty much okay. But yeah, watch your P's and Q's. I mean, I don't take my pontifications as your source of learning. You know, look to my betters, the folks who wrote the books.
Yeah. It's interesting stuff. I think I've been trying to learn a lot about like different religions. Like we were talking to Jehovah's Witness, Mormons. I find it all interesting, and I don't really think the point of encountering it is to go like, that's the demons. Like, I don't think that's very helpful, you know, unless something is exactly Catholicism. Because remember in the scriptures, Jesus says, someone comes up to him, he goes, they're casting out demons in your name, but they don't really know what this is about. And he's like, well, I mean, if they're casting out demons in my name, like, what's the problem? You know, who cares? I mean, they're casting out and I think these Africans, Grace, I really think that in places where Christianity hasn't penetrated, I really think there are demons still at work, and we just think they're crazy because I don't think we have those demons around anymore. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, I could see that.
Because the New Testament is filled with like this idea that there's all these demons who are possessing people. And we say, oh, well, that's like psychological illness. I don't think so. I think it's like literally true that man was in a much worse state. If you look at like the Hutus and the Tutsis in Rwanda, it's like, how could people do that to each other? There's got to be something demonic going on. Although we do the same in the West, but hack up a baby with a machete.
Yeah, that's gnarly.
I wonder.
Yeah, there's a tradition in Southeast Asia where they take an aborted fetus and then keep it in like a mason jar, and they'll reinvigorate it with alchemy, like chemicals, and then they'll perform various apportations or like movements. Like it actually, it's like a battery of some kind, a spiritual battery, and they'll use it to actually generate a force, and they'll show this is somehow provable to some level, although I've not personally been involved with any of that. I've heard stories about it, but yeah, like they use a human spirit and they trap it like I said, an aborted baby.
Weird.
And that you can buy and sell them, and there's like a whole big market for it down in Southeast Asia. But
you know, that's similar to the stem cell, like those. Even science recognizes like aborted fetus tissue is like incredibly powerful because it can. Yeah,
it's
you know what I mean. So they're not exactly wrong.
Even though it's dead, it's still growing and it's still essentially filled with energy. In the north, we're very austere and more stoic and strict. Like northern China did their best to like almost entirely eliminate any form of superstition or religion, and they're very scientifically minded people. There still are temples, and there still are some practices like the burning of spirit money and so on and so forth. But if you want any of that like shamanistic, really hardcore kind of voodoo magic, that's all down in the south, far from the capital.
The capital is Beijing.
Yeah, that's where I live.
And that's like what? Isn't it about halfway up?
I think it's like around the 36th or 37th degree parallel, something. No, that's wrong. A little higher than that. Yeah, it's about I would say it's about the same level as New York, Boston, San Francisco. Yeah, so it's pretty far north.
Oh no.
We get frigid cold winters. Not a lot of snow, but it gets down to like negative 12, 13. So
yeah, because you're getting that Asian, like that Asian. Does it come from the west to the east there?
Siberia.
That's
Siberian.
like the worst. Yeah. We get the Canadian that comes down, so it can be similar, but yeah, Siberia is the worst place on earth to live. I don't know how anyone can do it. Manchuria also parts, right?
Yeah, we're on the border of Manchuria.
It's like it's like a cold sink or something. Like the cold just dips and stays there.
That's where you get sent if you fuck up, right? They send you to Siberia.
Yeah. So what are you? What do you do on the internet? I don't really know much about you. What do you talk about?
Not a lot. I've had my YouTube channel for about 10 years, and when I first started, I made some videos about kung fu and magic and gardening and stuff like that. And I was just kind of doing it for fun. I was trying to reconnect with the Western world. I didn't learn about live streaming till a little over a year ago. For the last few years, I've been doing something called the 100-Day Challenge, and I had a buddy that I was doing it with. He was like a certified hypnotherapist, and so like every spring equinox and autumn equinox, I launch a challenge where I try to get people to do one course of study for 100 consecutive days. It's based on some old Chinese teachings, but yeah, like basically meditation, ceremonial magic, self-hypnosis, this kind of thing.
Are you the one who taught Jack how to like have an orgasm without touching anyone?
No,
he has a kind of. He's open to that stuff. He says he has like really positive feelings flowing through his body from his spine, right, or something like that.
Yeah.
It strikes me as somewhat Eastern-ish.
Non-physical orgasm, something like that.
It's a non-physical orgasm. I think it just means he's happy. But
yeah, I think so too. Yeah, yeah, he's up to
I believe him though. I believe that he has those positive feelings.
Yeah, no, the reason I was kind of attracted to Jack is because he seems to be fairly tuned in with like spiritual things, and he talks a lot about these alternative systems of like modalities of self-development, and honestly, like if you listen to him carefully, he basically has like a Rosicrucian or Freemasonic spiel kind of. Though he does claim Christ is king, which is absolutely true in my opinion as well. And he's a devout Christian, but he takes like he puts himself in a position of like, it's kind of hard to define, and I'm not going to try to put him in a box, but he seems approachable, and it seems to me like anybody of any faith can approach him and isn't going to be chastised or lorded over, you know, and he's willing to forgive people for their mistakes, and it just seems like a good vibe to me. So that's why I like him. Yeah,
a lot of internet religious people, it's just about like, you're going to hell, and then the other person goes, you're going to hell. And it's just crazy. It's just really, it's a shame. It's a shame. It's a scandal.
Yeah, and the thing that blows my mind too, and I've been watching you for a while, Ben and Grace. I mean, with interactions with Chats and Jack and other places as well now. But you notice how some people will come in and they want to lord it over you and tell you how the cow eats the cabbage. And it's like, I'm a 54-year-old man. I think you're like pushing close to 50, right? Yeah. So we're in the same ballpark. You know, you've got a 23-year-old daughter. I've got a 20-year-old daughter. And it's like, we really don't need to be told how the cow eats the cabbage.
Yeah,
you know, we've kind of been there. And so when young men do that, it's almost laughable. And I somewhat offensive too.
Yeah, it's just like, intuitively. And I bet especially in Chinese culture, there is a respect for elders, right? And it should be natural. But here on the internet, it's like inverted, where it's like, if you're a person who's a certain age, you're just derided. It's converted, right? Like we were talking to a 17-year-old kid yesterday who's on SSRIs, and we're just saying, have you thought maybe like, there's a problem that the drugs, and he's just so angry and unwilling to listen, and has to say like his problems are actually superpowers. And it's like, bro, why not at least have a conversation? No one's here is trying to hurt you, but I guess
if you want to talk about being dark, you talk about magic all you want, but getting on Zoloft because you're suicidal at 15 is dark. Like that's like
like that's real magic. Some of those drugs are real, like
it's bad magic, definitely,
that are very powerful.
Yeah, I recently read through the paper that was suggested by someone about the Rothschilds taking over the pharmaceutical industry for like I forget what it was called, but anyway, so
some of the stuff that was done in the name of science, even as recently as the 60s, they were. Have you ever heard about this thing like what's it called, an occipital lobotomy? They would just take a pick and crack it in here and then mash up the brain behind it as like science, and then that seems pretty wild to do.
Yeah.
And like pretty obviously destructive, but
it seems like there's some potential for Jack to possibly change his mind. So
I
would say we should all apply a little pressure, because sometimes people need to be gassed up and kind of pushed in a direction. And I've always kind of I felt that with Jack a little bit. I don't think he's going to take that extra step unless he really sees like the return on investment. You're going for sure, right, Grace?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like,
but I mean, I really want.
Right?
Oh, I will definitely go if he goes. But if he's not going, I'm not sure I necessarily want to meet up with Lalo at CPAC just for the fun of it.
Yeah,
if he's going, I'm definitely going to go. I've made that clear to him.
Lalo is not the mad sleepy time groper, is he?
Yes,
yes.
But
he is. Okay,
he's just
he's harmless. Though.
He's harmless. Yeah.
Yeah, he seems to be harmless. Yeah.
But he really, I think, I've seen. Jack doesn't know Lalo as well as we do, and we've been like, Lalo generally will say like, no, that's loser, boomer, I know, but he really does seem to respond to Jack's energy, and he genuinely, I've never heard him say like, no, I'll bring you. He's never brought us into one of these. We visited him, he has these things, he's like, no, you stay there, but like he really wants Jack to meet some of these people that he knows, like whether it's for content or whatever, like he's down for it. So I'm like, oh wow, that's rare. How many times have I suggested things to Lalo? And he's like, no, I'm not doing it. That's a 2 out of 10. That's a 1 out of 10.
So many times. Right? So many times.
Well, yeah, and me personally, like I can't see any downside to it. Like it seems like getting out of the house.
Yeah.
We just passed one of the 24 solar terms here in China, which is called Long Tai To, and supposedly like the dragon has been sleeping throughout winter, and it just raised its head up like for the spring equinox. So this is like the most auspicious, propitious time to get out and do something, whether it be take a walk in your garden or climb a fucking hill or whatever, but just to get outside, get a little light on the skin, and interact with some people. And like the whole thing about you guys setting up his wardrobe, and then Grace gonna look like fire, right? Like maybe do the whole Matrix girl in the red dress. Like I don't see how he could fucking lose. I mean, I would do it.
And if it, if whatever, it's $50 for the whole shebang, and then like you're gonna be in Texas, it's like 90 degrees. How breaks that whole winter doldrums thing. You're just, what's the downside? So
go out, get some Mexican food.
I've wanted to do, there are some channels that do like almost stock markets about like predicting stuff. And there is actually a website now that you can predict, like, are we going to go ground offensive in Iran? People will bet, but I'd love to do it on a micro level. Like, is Jack going to get on the plane? Bet.
Yeah.
Is Jack, when he gets there, gonna like stay at his hotel, or is he gonna go to, is Jack gonna end up meeting Donald Trump? I'd love for people to because it creates more of a, like you could say it creates pressure.
Thorpe stock. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, that's reality. Everyone's going to judge you anyways. Everyone wants to see whether you're going to do it or not. So why not just?
It's funny, Ben, because every single question you just asked, I was secretly below the board, shuffling and cutting. And I wouldn't read for anyone unless they directly requested it. And me personally, like I wouldn't get involved in that type of divinatory fortune telling online. But yeah, lot of insights from the tarot. One thing I've noticed about the tarot is don't ask it questions you don't want answers to, because it's in the hands of a seasoned practitioner, it seems to be unfailingly accurate. And so I don't know why that is necessarily, but maybe like this one deck, for example, I've been shuffling for 30 years. So yeah,
that's an interesting thing. Don't ask it questions that you don't want answered. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so most of the time I won't ask any fucking questions. And the other thing too is like they'll start to come, like if I focus on a person and take them into like my spiritual cultivation, I'll start to see cards appear just in my mind or in dreams, and I'll sometimes dream with them, like appear to them, and like they'll appear in my dreams, or situations will unfold through dreaming. Interesting things I've seen of Mr. T, right? So good fun there. Some people reveal that stuff and stuff that
Mr. T, the guy from the A-Team.
Yeah, I pity the fool, right? No, Presidente.
Donald Trump. Oh,
yeah, some definitely. And the thing is, I do a lot of record keeping in all of my journals, so I have the tangible proof for myself, but it's not something I would outwardly display. We have like 4 prohibitions according to the riddle of the Sphinx: to know, to dare, to will, and then the final one is to be silent. So a lot of things have to be kept in secrecy. Like, and you're probably aware of this principle that if you really want to get something done, you should just ghost and grind. You know, don't tell anybody what you're fucking up to, because a lot of times there's a lot of naysayers and haters, and they're going to bring forward a lot of resistance. You know, so better just to do.
That's definitely true.
Work.
Yeah,
do your work.
I think what we'd have to say to Jack is, if he really doesn't make this happen, I understand it's spur of the moment, but he's always talking about, like, you know what, just go for it, live in the moment, don't stress. And he, as far as I know, he's been talking about wanting to meet Trump or people associated with Trump, people in politics, for 2 years now. So 5.
Is it 2 or 5? I think he's been doing it for 5.
Okay, 5. So, I mean, I hate to say it, but like, if you've been talking about that for 5 years and then a fairly golden opportunity presents itself and you don't take it, you're kind of bullshitting, no?
It'd be hard to avoid that.
Kind of full of shit.
Yeah, you got to strike while the iron's hot. You know, seize the day. Get out there and fucking. What does Cynthia say? What is her name? What's up, Cynthia? Walk out with your cock out. You know, get shit going.
Although sometimes the way you want to do something is not the way it's meant to be, and it happens. Like, and you realize it was good that it didn't happen, but then it happened in this way that I didn't expect. So I wouldn't say like everything's linear, like it's just obvious. True. You know, maybe there is a legitimate problem he's having logistically. Right, we don't know, but you know, because why would he set it up like, I definitely want to go, only to then make excuses? You would just make them from the beginning and say, I got a lot on my schedule. You could say it doesn't really make sense.
Do it. Yeah, he thought he could do it, then he got cold feet.
Yeah, it could be just a genuine. Yeah, I mean, yes, you can say that, but then you can also say maybe it's like there's a genuine like logistical problem.
Could be, yeah. Could be.
Well,
who knows?
He kind of said that the pump was primed as well, that he had recently had a windfall or something of the like. Yeah. You know, and he was ready to go and invest in himself.
Yeah. And he has pulled the trigger before with people he doesn't know, meeting up. A lot of people will never do that. Getting out, like he went to DC. He actually got tackled by, I believe, like special Secret Service or something. So he thought that was funny.
I watched that.
So
it's not like
he's not exactly someone who just talks shit and hides behind a
keyboard.
He
was on Don Lemon.
True. Yeah, he went for it. So maybe it's just like there's an ebb and flow, and maybe until the plane takes off and he's not there, we don't really know. You never know.
Right.
And he could even go on Wednesday, you know what I mean, or something, you know.
Yeah.
We never
Yeah, and you guys still have some time to deliberate and kind of be held in abeyance as well. Like you have something coming up pretty quick, Ben, like a decision possibly in your favor.
Yeah, well, it's a wrapping up of something that's taken really 24 years to resolve. So like,
Yeah.
Okay.
that's gonna be, I don't even know what that's gonna feel like. You're doing something for 24 years and it's finally over, at least on a legal level, which is a pretty big deal. I don't know.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah, it's huge. Yeah. I just didn't think it was ever going to end, because, and that's the thing about working, you know, a situation with people, relationships. It is really hard to predict how people are going to behave. Although in retrospect, you can see, oh yeah, that's consistent. But like a lot, especially if they're hostile to you, you have really no idea. I don't, anyways.
Right.
I'm always
that's
surprised because I don't know what it's like to like want to hurt someone just to hurt someone, and so I don't know how the thinking works, because you know, or to be mentally ill or whatever, you know.
The German word Schadenfreude, right?
What does that mean?
Taking pleasure in other people's pain.
Right.
Yeah.
In Chinese is 乐乎在乎, 身在乐乎在乎, I forget. But they have a similar expression in Chinese. We don't have that in English really, but yeah, it's kind of a German idea. Here's a good card for you. This is like the end of carrying a long burden. You're about to finally set it down.
Yes, yeah.
And that's kind of indicative of what you're about to go through, which is a great card too, because wands cards are the cards of energy, and once you set this thing down, you'll be able to reboot and move on and grow new things.
That's what we've been waiting for. Yeah, sometimes an external thing causes you internally to get gummed up in a way that you don't even realize if it becomes second nature. It's just like always there, you know.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I know exactly what you mean too. Like having a toxic person in your life that has a certain, especially when it's the man-woman relationship, and
jobs you guys have like that too. You know, if you feel like
absolutely
you should do this job, and then you can finally like quit. It's like, oh, thank God. Like I was killing myself. You know what I mean? You sometimes say like, why was I doing that to myself? It's just money. You know?
And you guys had a bunch of kids together too, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So that continues to be kind of a mess, but like, whatever. I just, no one benefits from something that's just endlessly unresolved. So
like, if I may probe a little bit, if that's okay, like what will this resolution bring about for you in terms of like, what will kind of be cleared off your plate, and like how will that affect like you going forward and stuff?
Well, just like they just did, like there's like when things are not resolved, there are legal things, because they're like the legal relationship still remains. So you know, you can do any number of things with the legal system to screw with someone that you are in a legal you know what I mean? So now it's like, okay, no, we're just like legally strangers. So, you know, I'm just super happy to have that clarified. You know, you can't fuck with my money. You can't like take out a credit card in my name, like without me knowing, you know, all that kind of shit, which did happen.
Okay.
You know,
so
I don't know what, I don't,
ends.
Yeah, like Grace has paid, who knows, like tens of thousands of dollars to keep the property there because no one could touch it until it got resolved. So like you can't get rid of it. You can't sell it. You can't split it. You can't talk to the other person. Now it's like, okay, this stuff is ours. That stuff is hers. And like, it is what it is. Like no one can go back on that and go, wait a second. I actually want to have this, and this, you know? And until then, you don't really own anything.
Right. So it'll be like the final decision on like the division of property and so on, like the settling of accounts.
Just like a nice fat line saying this and this, and that's it. Yeah, this nonsense about coins. I mean,
I think I'd heard some mention of that. You're like, gold coins, where are they? Show them to me. You know, bring me.
Well, actually, the last time we were there, we had obviously jokingly, gotten these plastic gold bars that, or what are those called? Yeah, they're gold bars, right?
Yeah, from Amazon.
And they're obviously made of plastic and intended for parties. And that was brought up in a court of law as like, hey, maybe this guy has like $2 or $3 million worth of gold, and it's like, oh my God, what? I laughed, and the judge was like, that's not funny. And I was like, it is, it's funny. It's plastic.
Yeah, that's so funny. It's like those chocolate foil covered gold coins
like
that they give out at give out at Hanukkah or whatever.
It's like and there's a lawyer saying this, like, we have, Your Honor, there's evidence that there's like it would have been like $3 million worth of gold, because gold, so
if they had been,
and it's like, what can I possibly say?
Well, there's some truth to it too, that like nobody can fuck you over as good as family. I have property back in the States, and I had a fucking ton of treasures stored away, like an entire collection of Mercury head dimes and gold, silver quarters and stuff, and like my dad's old cufflinks and just a ton of things, like a nice sized jewelry box. I had it hidden in the wall, like, and like screwed in there and shit. And my sister and her daughter, they got in there when my mom passed away, because my mom was staying there. And they cleaned me out. They sold my rifles, my handguns. They took all my silver, all my jewelry. Yeah, like, I don't know, probably 50 grand worth of stuff. And it's not the money so much. What like hurt more was the sentimental value of most of it was things that I had gotten from my father. And it was like that direct connection to my dad. So that kind of,
and they probably just took it to a pawn shop and got crap money for it.
Oh yeah, they got shit for it. I know. Right. My comic book collection, I had like over 1,000 books. Spider-Man, Watchmen, fucking Captain America, all that. And so yeah, it's more the sentimental value than anything else. And right, they probably got shit value for it. That's the thing too. Yeah. Because Anyway, things happen. You move on.
Yeah. That's the whole, like, don't store your treasure and things.
That's right.
You can't hold on to them, especially with the legal system being what it is. I mean, anyone can screw with you, but like people who have like this kind of relationship with you can really screw with you, where you trust them. And so it's not that I don't trust people, but I kind of want to really limit that number of people.
Yeah, once bitten, twice shy, and for the most part, like, I've heard you speak online, and I kind of have a feel for your mentality. And I'd say for the most part, you're pretty fucking dialed in. You really shouldn't help people, and you shouldn't try. Like, don't be mistrustful necessarily, but at the same time, you shouldn't extend that trust naively. Live and learn. Fucking.
I think one of my insights actually from Christianity is a lot of people do want to be miserable. And so if you want to participate in their misery, they'll welcome you in. But there are also people you can legitimately help, but it's a much smaller number than you might think. Because a lot of people actually don't want help. They want to pretend they want help to, like, it's like a drowning person. A lot of times a drowning person will kill you because they're actually going to cause both of you to die. And you should be careful about that. Because I think that's one of the spiritual problems with like the comic book superhero stuff, is it seems to say, like, put yourself in danger to help others and it'll work out great. And there's a real danger that you will get pulled into, you should respect when someone's in a hell. You may not be strong enough to go down into hell and pull them out, especially if they don't really want to get pulled out of their hell, because they want to pull you down.
Yeah, and you might prevent them from experiencing their own growth as well. Like, there's an old Chinese idiom about a guy who falls in a well and another guy jumps in to save him, and they both end up starving. So it's like, you can't be unthinking in those types of things. And again, like from the Taoist tradition, there's just kind of a prohibition to helping people because it's a part of their own growth and development. And why should you steal that opportunity from them? And if they're not going to grow and develop, then, like you said, sometimes they just need to go ahead and jump out the fucking window or off the bridge or whatever.
Yeah, there's a coldness to Asian culture that I think is like very real. Sometimes in the West, we say like Asians are so kind of cold. I think of like the way the Chinese play things, like in foreign relations, they're ice cold. Like they don't care about African people's feelings or whatever. When you see them, they're just very realistic about what they're dealing with.
Yeah,
and yet they're honest. They will respect things that are worthy of respect, but if it's not worthy of respect, they don't play this game of you're somehow a victim. They just don't have that in them to feel that endless empathy for losers. I think
they would never for a moment like risk the homogeneity of their own society in order to like kind of offset this so-called refugee problem or something like that.
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen. China, for example, has zero immigration, just period. End of story.
Yeah, and even what you say about their like overt racism towards foreigners, like I hate to say it, but like that is normal. That's not like natural and normal, and in some sense healthy. Especially we've been watching the history a little bit. I didn't know about this of the British Empire with the opium stuff. Like there's no one. It's no wonder that Asians are a little bit like skeptical of Europeans who want to help them out, because
and
those fuckers were brutal.
Yeah, and it attests to their extremely strict drug laws too.
Yeah,
like you just don't fuck around with that over here.
I mean, huge sections of the country were just like became slaves to opium, right? And
it was forced upon them, like
it was more or less shoved down their
throat. They couldn't refuse.
Yeah. So it makes you think, like, because we often have this idea, like, as Christians, like, oh, we're just spreading the gospel. You can take it or leave it, but like, there's a lot of, other motivations going on.
Yeah, absolutely. And somebody says to you, congratulations on ending the legal lawful.
We got one more day.
One more day.
What have you guys
been? My chickens.
What have you guys been thinking about the jam with Mergecott, Paul Unslaved? Right.
It's good. I've always said that Jack is too open to people who are ultra critical, and like so Paul is good as a kind of prophylactic, like, get out of here. Like he's not gonna let Jack like just kind of surround himself with that kind of energy, which I think is good.
Yeah.
But obviously, like with anyone, I think Jack is a natural solo streamer too. So I think it's always hard to partner if you're like some people. I'm a natural co-streamer. Grace is a natural solo streamer. Okay. But she can do both. But I can't do it by myself. I'm amazed at guys who go on. Can you imagine this? Every day he goes on, and I don't know if he prepares it, but he has like some like sort of homily to give, like, some sort of like speech to give as a monologue.
Yeah.
I would just be like, I think he does 7 days a week, right?
Pretty much.
Jack,
yeah.
And he goes like 15 or 20 minutes. And like some people would say, well, this is all variations on the same theme, but I really do think he is like bringing something that he's been thinking about all day onto the screen. And why would anyone do that if it's just the same old, same old? And I think he does in his own way. When I first saw Jack, I was like, oh, this is just bullshit. It's just vague, like positive. But there's actually a lot more to Jack than that. And it's subtle. That's why on the internet, it takes a little bit of time. You have to be patient because you can go, oh, this is some hippie guru guy. Everyone should love each other. Shut up. Right. That's what I told him first. But then actually, when I told him that, he was like, I welcome your criticism. And I was like, oh, wait a second.
Everybody loves a story too, and there's a backstory, and there's a cast of characters, and there's an entire like character arc, and so there's all of the things that make for great storytelling with Jack. And they call it the loop, but it's a part of bringing new people in as well. Like if there's too much inside baseball, most of the newcomers are turned off. But at the same time, if there isn't some of that hooking in and, here's where the stories come from and here's where it's going. And the consistency is key. Like, I think it was Theodore Roosevelt that said, persistence and determination alone are omnipotent. That there are tons of geniuses and talented people, and they're all fucking worthless. But being consistent, persistent and determined, that's what wins the day.
And Jack has cultivated, I think, because I've seen every aspect of YouTube. Certain people specialize in, like, we had this one guy, Hormaxer. He actually was using the back chat in a way which no one else used. He had guys would come up and masturbate in back chat, which you can't show, and he would rate them and sort of advise them on their technique. And I was like, that is like pretty cool. You're using the back chat because it's not on screen, but we know he can see it. So that was really funny. But Jack's forte is his private chat flies almost as fast as his comments, because he's got all these people in the back who are like,
notice that.
Well, I hate you. You know what I mean? So he's got that niche. It's like I've never seen anyone like where private chat is more than just like, okay, here's my phone number, things I don't want to say publicly, but it's like a whole drama of like, it's almost like dungeon talk, all the people seething in the back room. So
guys, I'm gonna have to beg your pardon for a moment. I've got some stuff going on out here in the living room. So
okay, yeah, we were just gonna blip off ourselves. So
yeah, no problem.
Okay,
nice talking to you, Frank.
Blessings to you, and thank you for stopping by. Grace, always beautiful. Ben, you're a fucking pleasure. I hope that Jack gets on board with this, because it's kind of a big deal, and I think it's something that would really get him going in the right direction.
Yes.
So yeah, let's hope for the best, and we'll see what the future holds.
Thanks, Frank. Take care.
Yeah, all right. I appreciate the Thorpes coming by, and I appreciate everyone who tuned in, because I believe, like, obviously I've never seen numbers like this here before, and so that was completely attributed to them. And thanks to everyone in the chat, and sorry that I didn't keep up better on the chat, guys. I was just kind of rolling with the punches and engaged in the conversation, and so definitely good fun. Good magic. I certainly appreciate the conversation and the back and forth. I think that I don't know. What do you guys think? I think Jack should do it. I think it's kind of a good deal. There's Lalo involved, Grace, and I believe there was a couple of other folks mentioned, Landry as well. And they kind of did the whole thing of setting up a wardrobe for the situation and feeling through those things. And so it looked like some positive, good development in that direction. And we'd all be here for it, right? IRL is definitely a motivating factor. I'm gonna let this video play for a moment here to finish off the end of my stream. And I'm gonna try to deal with this this firestorm in the living room that's going on right this second, and maybe I'll have a little time to stick around and finish the show proper. In the meantime, enjoy the video. This is a video by Mind Unveiled that gives you a little more insight into the workings of magic.
Could alter physical reality, contact non-human intelligence, and completely rewrite history itself. Is it real? If not, then why are the elites into it? Welcome to Mind Unveiled.
I remember.
Okay guys, it's about to get weird. And I mean, history is weird. Like, why does the Vatican have the largest collection of grimoires? Why did Isaac Newton spend more time on alchemy than physics? And why was every founding father in a secret society performing bizarre rituals? Today, we're talking about occult history, the type of stuff they don't really teach you in school. Like, did the ancients have some type of mystical power that was lost after a cataclysm? Or how about all that weird witchcraft stuff throughout the medieval ages? Were they just tripping on moldy bread? And what about these secret societies? Did they get together and decide to fabricate our history? A lot of strange stuff, but at the core, do we have the ability to alter physical reality with our mind? Alright, if you're thinking what the hell is this guy talking about? Perfect. I'm talking about an ancient lost art form, an ancient technology that was used to recode reality. Basically, I'm trying to get you to imagine a reality in which magic is actually real. And no, I'm not talking about stage magic like making the Statue of Liberty disappear or levitating in the hood. And no, I'm not talking about fantasy Disney magic. We're talking about real magic, with a K. See, if we take mainstream history as accurate, then magic almost has to be real. Because if it isn't real, then we have some major problems. Throughout the medieval ages and even the early Renaissance, the greatest thinkers accepted magic as a very real phenomenon. There are many definitions of magic, but at its core, it's a base principle of our reality. It's the power to control your destiny, to think a thought and to manifest it into reality. It is the process from mind to matter.
So you're saying if I visualize myself in a red sports car, it will just happen? It doesn't seem to be working.
Well, yeah, that's because you're trapped in there. It's not in your sphere of influence. Try that again when you're in a lucid dream. The manifestation will be immediate. You see, in order to explore occult history, we must understand what magic is and distinguish it from all its counterfeit variations. Magic's not only real, but the history of magic goes back to the origin of humanity. Magic, at its core, is mysticism, an alteration of consciousness in order to achieve a certain result. And most of the people in the modern day think this is woo-woo or new age or just a bunch of BS, but most of this comes from our modern belief system. We're taught a cosmology of randomness, a nihilist ideology which directly affects not only our view of what's possible, but directly inhibits our magical power.
So you're saying I can't do magic because I don't believe hard enough?
No, it's deeper than that. The ancient mystery schools understood something that we've completely forgotten. Magic isn't separate from reality. It is reality. It's the foundation. I'm talking about ancient mystery schools being the foundation for religions, for science, for our entire understanding of consciousness, the actual operating system of existence. For thousands of years, in Egypt, Greece, Persia, they all had mystery schools. And what they taught wasn't religion as we understand it today. They were spiritual technologies. Ancient historians like Herodotus, Plutarch, Iamblichus described the Great Pyramid not as a tomb, but as an initiatory temple. Initiates would undergo symbolic death and resurrection. They would literally exit their body, travel through different realms, and come back transformed. It's the same thing with the Eleusinian mysteries in Greece. Initiates would drink a sacred mixture and experience what we'd call today a near-death experience. They'd encounter divine beings, receive knowledge, and return back from the dead.
Oh, so they were tripping on psychedelics.
Except everyone that went through it described the same entities, the same realms, the same knowledge structure. That's not random hallucinations. And these weren't just New Age spiritual exercises. The mystery schools taught that reality itself is conscious, that mind came before matter, and that through altering your consciousness, you could interact with the fundamental layer of existence. And look, the magical claims from ancient sources are absolutely wild. Most of you know of one magical ability, astral projection, the ability to exit your physical body and travel to other locations or even other dimensions. The Egyptians called it the body of light, and they had entire rituals dedicated to this. Oracles who could see the future, Not just vague predictions, I mean, these were specific, detailed information about events that hadn't happened yet. Kings and emperors would travel thousands of miles to consult them. Alexander the Great trekked 300 miles across the Sahara Desert to the Oracle of Siwa. The priest greeted him as the Son of God before he even spoke, and told him he would conquer the world and he'd never be defeated. And apparently he did. And this is weird. So right after this, he changes his whole look, declares himself to be God, and then they have all these depictions of the horns of Alexander, almost as if they merged him with some pan-iconography. Oh, and get this. In the Quran, he's known as the Horned One, and it literally says he was the one who built the Great Wall of China to keep Gog and Magog out of civilized lands. It also says that the wall was built through the help of jinn, just like the Temple of Solomon. So across multiple cultures from all around the world, there's this common pattern of using magic or supernatural entities for the creation of different structures. The most famous example being Solomon and his brass vessel. He summoned and commanded demons to build his temple. He even had this special worm called the shamir that apparently could eat stone. Was this some type of technology to melt or disintegrate stone? But it's more than that. This shamir was used to engrave the stones of the priestly breastplate of the high priest of the Hebrews. So when you look at these perfect laser-cut hieroglyphs, it really makes you wonder, what is this legend referring to? Is it some type of lost ancient technology? History is filled with these strange magical technologies, and you've heard of many of them. For example, the Ark of the Covenant. Typically described as a device for communicating with God, it was rumored to make people sick, and even cause blindness to those who look at it. But throughout history, this device is essentially a reset device. It literally levels cities.
I thought the Ark was just a Bible story. There's no evidence it actually did anything.
Well, what about the walls of Jericho? Were they just marching around with trumpets and the walls fell? Or was it the Ark? When the Philistines captured it, it literally caused plagues and cataclysm. A device that caused devastation wherever it went. Of course, it has to say in 1 Samuel that the Ark's power wasn't a magical charm, but actually, it was just God's pure essence. Right. I don't know, sounds like a reset device to me.
Wait, but isn't magic just demonic stuff?
Well, that's typically what most Christians automatically conclude. But let's talk about what Christians do every single day. Prayer. You're using intention and focused consciousness to manifest outcomes. That's magic. Here's the thing. Magic can have different power sources. You can channel energy from yourself, from nature, from cosmic forces, from entities, or from what people call God. The mechanism is the same. Focused intention, ritual structure, belief. The power source is what changes. Christians are doing magic. They're just sourcing it through their God. And even then, I think we can all agree, it is easy to abuse the power of prayer, as I'm sure many of you have seen. People praying in situations where really they shouldn't be bothering the God of the universe with. But that's the thing. Prayer is really a form of mental magic. And what about baptism? A nature initiation ritual? Crosses used as talismans. Wearing a cross for protection is a form of magic. What about communion? Now I understand you can present this in different ways, but let's just be real. You're literally eating wine and bread in order to perform a symbolic reenactment of eating Jesus.
Yeah, all right. I'm going to leave it there then. I wish you all good magic. Keep doing your thing, and until next time, be blessed.
Eagles flying high, cats on the prowl, devils in your bed, their whispers so loud, witches on my heels, so they'll steal, running in the dark, truth they conceal, blood on the walls, splattering us safe, God can't help the dead. No time to think. Hounds howl at night, shadows in the light, fear in every breath, eyes wide with fright. Cards dealt by fate, no way to escape. Threads getting tight, can't see the daylight. Blood on the walls, spattering us sink. God can't help the dead, no time to think. Cards dealt by fate, no way to escape. Threads getting tight, can't see the daylight. Blood on the walls, spattering us sink. God can't help the dead, no time to think.
All right, all right, all right. That was Dweller of the Dark with God Can't Help the Dead. This is FM Radio's Frank Monday signing off for the evening. Welcome to the Spring Equinox. Welcome to the 100-Day Challenge. Sorcery of the Ancients. Keep doing your practice. The first shifting, everybody. Get that attention point focused, reshifted out of the commonplace, ordinary drudgery of the day-to-day life, and let's move into the super sensual, the paranormal, moments of high strangeness, kind of like the Thorpe showing up. So shout out to Thorpe TV and Chats with Jack, Benjamin Thorpe, and Grace Thorpe for gracing us with their presence here on FM radio. I appreciate y'all, good-looking, sexy people. Until next time, keep doing good magic. Ad astra per aspera, and I will see you in the abodes of the future.